you know, thinking about the foundation of the purpose experience and what it is and why we do it. Like we started off by hanging out with the kids from Explosion, all the kids we mentored. We kept seeing a reoccurring pattern and questions and situations and where people get stuck and
Yes.
what am I here for? Like I love Jesus. They get
Mm-hmm.
on fire for the Lord,
Mm-hmm.
but what's next? And I think there's so many young people, young adults, and people in general who get touched by God, experience the presence of the Lord, get on fire for Jesus, and they come back and they're like, what do I do now?
Right.
And they don't know. And we kept seeing this issue. So we started having these conversations around the framework of purpose
Mm-hmm.
and started searching, okay, God, what do we say? How do we answer these questions? And so that was like our foundational year. And then I went and started coaching soccer at Orangewood Christian School. And I was there for 13 years coaching. And then I started doing purpose retreats. The first one was taking some of the boys on a purpose cruise to the Bahamas. And then it was going out to the Fort Wilderness campground out at Disney. And we were 2 or 3 weekends over one a year and just taking all the outgoing seniors. Hey, let's get away. Let's go for a couple of days and talk about purpose. And we'd go through questions and answers. And we were just kind of shaping things up, but we weren't really sure what to do. But the resource we were using, some of the boys are like, Pastor Tim, the content's great, but these but these videos were actually the soccer players like, Coach, we love the content, but some of these videos you're showing us are kind of, cringy. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? And then they said, you need to make some yourself. And I went,
I'm so glad they said that.
that's a really good idea.
That's a great idea.
And so we took the soccer players through it multiple weekends and dozens of kids through that. And it was really powerful. And that's what really shaped the material. And then our other youth ministry, Ignite Youth Ministry in DeLand, Florida, we were there for 4 years at City Sanctuary Church. And we took all those groups before we left and resigned. We took all them away on the retreat and took them through our curriculum and resource and asked questions and really fine-tuned it and polished it up until where we have it to today. And I think the thing is I think we started to realize there were so many people needed help.
Mm-hmm.
And if we had this many young people we personally mentored who loved Jesus and were stuck, not sure, lack of clarity,
Right.
confusion, not really sure what direction to go with their life, what they're called to do, why they were created, like what their purpose is. And that's when I think we said we can only help so many people in person by ourselves.
Right.
And that's why we say, you know what, we got to do something. That's why we wrote the Purpose Experience book, workbook, and created the videos. But even that, it's like, okay, we got to get the word out. And that is what led us to start this podcast.
Exactly. I think so many people need to hear. You said it so well. We have a passion to serve the Lord. We love Jesus. We're ready to go. Jesus, send us. And then he sends us and we're like, how do I do the things that you want us to do? So for me, that's always been the thing. I'm super passionate. I love serving the Lord under the capacity of teaching, whether I'm teaching a Bible study, teaching math, teaching Spanish, teaching anything, right? And God works through me in those environments. But I didn't always have the practical skills of the how-tos. And with the Purpose Experience, you are combining both. You've said it before, Tim. You have said, there's the character of Jesus, and then there's the person of Jesus. Did I get that right?
There's the principles of Jesus.
The principles of Jesus.
And the person of Jesus.
And the persons of Jesus.
Which means Can
you unpack that a little bit? Because it. That really helped me. And I thought, oh my goodness, I'm all about the character, right? Let's be loving, forgiving. God can give us strength, don't go to bed being angry and, all these things, right? But the practical side of things, the how-tos, the disciplines,
right?
I did not know how to carry those out.
And so I think that's what this whole concept of the podcast is about, is how do we share stories and principles of purpose that help awaken the purpose of why people were created and how to help them fulfill the very essence of why they exist and to step into the God-given destiny that they're supposed to. And part of that is you have the principles of Jesus and the person of Jesus. There's a lot of people who are successful and do incredibly well in this world because they follow the principles of Jesus. They follow goal setting and following your passions and being committed in unity and building a team and all this resiliency and all these things that they step into, investing, but they don't follow the person of Jesus, his love, his joy, his forgiveness, and his peace. And so taking those two together is important. So part of it with the purpose experience is how do we take the biblical truths of what biblical purpose looks like that we'll be unpacking more in the coming
Right.
days. How do we take those biblical truths and spiritual truths and live them out practically in everyday life? That is what we want to do on this podcast. That's what this is all about, is taking everyday stories and lives to infuse the principles of purpose
Right.
into it so we can give people, so you and I and other people watching and listening can say, how do I live with purpose? Oh, that's good. I need to apply that to my life. And no matter what age they're in, this is
Exactly.
going to be for high school, college kids, 20 somethings. This is for parents. This is for grandparents.
Right.
This is for business leaders.
Mhm.
This is for people who are going through addiction recovery. It doesn't matter because all these principles are universal.
Exactly.
And that's why we form this thing so we can scale it and grow it and take it to the masses, because we're only two people. And that's the whole hope of this, is to help as many people as we can find God's purpose for their life and
That's
live it
right.
out practically. So that's kind of where I think that we're at this point.